Okay. I call the meeting to order for the budget hearing and annual meeting. First, we'll start out with roll call. Scott?
Here.
Brittany?
Here.
And Carolyn?
Here.
And Brad is not here. And John Swanberg, I am here. Next item is to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good, everybody remembered. Okay, announcements.
So, just with the announcements, the K-12 public school budget meeting in Wisconsin, legally required under state statute 65.90, is a mandatory public hearing where the school board presents the proposed financial plan and solicits feedback from the community before formally adopting the budget and setting the local tax levy. Its dual purpose is transparency and direct democracy participation in local school finance. So the primary purpose is mandated by law to ensure public accountability and provide residents and taxpayers with a forum to be heard on the district's financial plan. So it's public transparency to inform the district's residents and taxpayers of the prior year's actual expenditures and detailed proposed revenues and appropriations for the upcoming school year. Community input to provide an official opportunity for any resident or taxpayer to comment on the proposed budget before it's finalized. Tax determination for common school districts. The budget hearing is typically held at the same time and place as the annual meeting. At the annual meeting, the electors of the district have the legal power to vote a tax for various purposes such as school operation and building maintenance, which directly sets the local property tax levy. So the overview of the process and the requirements. The budget meeting is a crucial step in the district's annual financial process, which culminates in the school board adopting the official budget and certifying the tax levy to local municipalities. So timing and notice. The timing, the budget hearing and annual meeting are generally held in this time frame, July or August, but it can go up to October 31st. Notice requirements. The school district must publish a Class 1 notice in the municipality's newspaper, which includes a summary of the proposed budget. At the time and place of the public hearing, this notice must be published at least 10 to 15 days prior to the hearing. So the required budget information, the school board is required to present a comprehensive budget or proposed budget, often using the Wisconsin Uniform Financial Reporting Requirements, what's commonly referred to as WUFR codes. The budget summary must show expected revenues, expenditures, and fund balances for the budgeted year, actual revenues and expenditures for the preceding year, a breakdown of appropriations and revenues for the general fund, including items like taxes, intergovernmental revenues, debt service, and capital overlay. Proposed increases and decreases from the current budget due to new or discontinued activities. So the key activity or actions, presentation, so we'll present details of the budget, public testimony, residents are given a formal opportunity to speak and ask questions about aspect of the proposed financial plan, and tax levy vote for the hearing. The annual meeting for common school districts allows for electors to vote on the tax levy amounts. And then, at the end, the school board then formally adopts the final budget and sets the tax levy at the regular board meeting, which will follow this meeting.
And next item is the presentation of the proposed budget.
So with the annual budget that you have there, goes into a number of things with the notifications, the budget hearing, and then the actual agenda for this meeting. when we start getting into this with the treasurer's annual financial report, just getting into what our expenditures were last year and what our final balances were. And then getting into the budget adoption publication, it truly breaks down. I know it's sideways, it's the format of this. It breaks down into the different areas, some of our expenditures. Things that we're looking at is with the with our building study expenditures there. I think we had a couple of construction items, small things that taking care of the doorways and whatnot, as well as that potential for a financial assessment that we're going to get later on in Baird, or that tool that we can use for this. Other things that we included in there was projection for a new dishwasher, a couple other items on there. I'm missing there.
That was the main thing, and then the Baird.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it, other than the items at the beginning of the year, the doors and the.
Right. So that's getting through most of our operational expenses. Once again, goes to our current staff. The assets, getting a breakdown of what the assets were at the end of our 24-25 fiscal year. And then getting into that year-end balance. And then the actual Fund 10 balance. Anything I'm missing, Leanne? Okay. All right. Just looking at some of our things that impact revenue. Part of it is our enrollment. I know we've had, last year we had a little dip. We've come back up again with 316 enrolled, so that's a good thing. However, that enrollment for 2024, that'll still impact school aid for the next couple of years because it's on a 3-year average. And then also that revenue limit per member, just knowing that we've come to the point where what we're spending versus the state average are equal. So. And then after that, taking a look at equalization aid, just breakdown of the government entities, the town of Bennett, town of Gordon, the village of Solon Springs, and the town of Solon Springs. Those, the equalization aid based off from those valuations. Got some assumptions, okay. Just some of the assumptions that we're going to continue to see is that inflation is going to continue to be a factor, as well as rising costs. That's going to play into the building study that we're going to hear more about here later as well. Some of the other pieces that we should take a look at is just any more of the large expense items that might come up. The big one, like I said, we were planning for is the dishwasher, and we were taking a look at different options that we can utilize there. So, anywho. And I know that with the state budget, there was a surplus. I don't know where it's gone now, but I know that there were lots of people buying, or lots of entities vying for it. We're seeing a little bit of an increase when it comes to special education reimbursement rates, but that is about it. I know we did see a decline in actual state aid, and quite a few districts saw that as well. So. When we get further down the revenue limit worksheet, it just gets into the numbers and breaking it down according to the different funds. And then where we sit with our projected tax levy. So, any questions on those items there?
No questions? Okay. Moving on to election.
So with any annual meeting, there's an election of meeting chairperson. That chairperson does not have to be a board member. It can be a member of the community that is, that resides within the district.
Any nominations for any public member to be the chairperson for the annual budget meeting? No. Okay. What's that? Yeah, any nominations for chairperson? Going once, twice? I'll nominate Scott O'Brien. Anyone else?
We need a second that nomination, though.
You're seconding.
Yeah. Okay,
You take a vote, okay?
all right.
Unless there are any others.
All right.
I guess, do you decline or do you accept that
What do I
nomination?
have to do?
Just preside over it, so.
Yeah.
All right.
So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That means,
Yeah.
sorry, I just
Yeah.
want to reiterate, community members that live within the district, you have a vote in this stuff as well, so, okay?
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Scott.
Star or sticker?
Depends how you do it.
Okay.
The next item is unnecessary because Bernie's present, so.
Okay. Then just go to old business. Okay, then we'll need an approval of the 2024 annual meeting minutes, which are contained in the report. So can I get a motion for that?
I will motion.
A second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries to adopt the meeting minutes from 2024. And then will Scott take from there on the new business?
Yep.
Okay.
So with the new business, it's just adoption of the tax levy, leading it through. There's a vote for adoption and then questions.
So we need a motion to adopt the 2025-2026 tax levy.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Carolyn, second by John.
Any discussion?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
School board member salary.
So listed in there currently, the compensation is, the president receives $1,600 annually, the clerk is $1,600 annually, and then all of the members are $1,400 annually.
Can I get a motion to,
You have to motion.
If we're gonna continue that, yes, or if we're looking at an increase, we would have to say what that increase is.
I'll motion to approve that.
To continue.
Yeah, to
Okay.
continue with what it's at.
I'll second that.
Carolyn motion, John second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Reimbursement for district board members. Approval of mileage and expense reimbursement for district board members, statute 120.10.
Can you just remind us, what is our current?
It's the federal rate,
Yeah, so,
and I don't have that off the top of my head.
right, we were following the federal rate.
Because
If
that
we
can
want-
change.
Yeah, if we want to continue the federal rate for reimbursement.
Okay. I'll make a motion to continue following the federal rate for reimbursement.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. School lunch program. Approve operation and funding of the school lunch program.
So it's just
Pretty much
continuing
the
that.
same old.
It is,
All
that we're gonna
motion.
continue, yep. Continue
Second.
current operations.
Second.
Carolyn and Sydney, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Student transportation exemption.
So, what's put out through the state statute is that any students that would live within a 2-mile radius are not required to get transportation. However, local school districts can have an exception to that, but it has to be voted on here, accepted, so.
And we have the inclusion because I'm assuming we don't have crossing guards and things like that.
Well, and a lot of it had to do because of crossing the railroad tracks and the highway.
Motion for the,
I will motion to keep the exception for transportation for students.
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Last but not least, 2026 annual budget hearing and district meeting.
Okay. So if we're following the same pattern that we have, which I think is wise because we get our finalized state reimbursement rate and state funding allocation rate mid-October. By pushing it to the end of the month, that gives us time to publish all the necessary notifications in time and still take that into consideration. With that being said, the projected date would be October 26, 2026 at 6 p.m.
Okay.
All motion for Monday, October 26, 2026 at 6 p.m. to be the annual budget meeting for 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And it looks like we need a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the budget hearing and annual meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 What time?
6:16 p.m. Central Daylight Time.
Go right into the next. Okay. And let's call the regular board meeting to order at 6:17. And again, we'll do a roll call. Scott?
Here.
Carolyn?
Here.
Brittany?
Here.
John, I'm here, and Brad is not here. Okay, next item is announcements.
So, just a reminder, committee of the whole for November is next Monday, so it's a quick turnaround, sorry.
And approval of the meeting agenda, take a motion for that.
All motion.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries to approve this evening's agenda. And I'll need a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
All motion.
All second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the treasurer's report.
Okay. Beginning balance was $896,692.63. Total receipts was $39,762.76. Total expenses was $498,467.70, which leaves us at an ending balance of $437,987.69. The local government pool balance is $2,783,946.61.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
I will motion.
Second.
Okay. All favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries to accept the treasurer's report. The next item on the agenda is the expenditures. And I get a motion to accept the expenditure report.
I will motion.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion, any questions? None? Okay. Motion all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, expenditures are accepted. Next item on the agenda is student council. Do we have anybody from student council?
We don't.
No, okay. Next item is the committee of the whole report from last month.
Minutes of last month.
Okay. We have for this month. Do we don't need a motion on that, do we?
It is not, it's just, if there's any concern.
Any concerns, questions on the last committee of the whole report? Okay. Next item is Eagles Wings Charter School update.
So we didn't get the minutes on there. We had to reschedule that meeting because we had a lack of quorum. I know one thing that they're looking at is getting organized with their committees and getting a little more of a routine with committee meetings and doing some of the business of the board there, as well as taking a look at their fundraiser opportunities and then lead teacher options, so.
All right. Next item on the agenda is athletic director's report. I don't see Nathan.
Yeah, he was out there, so. A couple things that he had on the report that's listed there, so, high school, the football team, they finished a 5-3 record, 5-1 in the conference. Unfortunately, they didn't make it through their first round. However, still, it was a good season. I think they had 10 players from Solon Springs this year, so it's pretty good. Cross country, just got the notice that we had 2 that qualified for state over the weekend, so that's awesome to see that. And then boys participated well. Sadly, with that move to D2, that impacts things a little bit. So, high school volleyball finished up on Thursday. So, anyway, and then girls basketball. Both middle school teams finished undefeated for the year. So it's awesome to see that. Looking forward to future teams. Winter sports, obviously we've got middle school boys basketball that's going on right now. High school girls basketball starts in 2 weeks, boys basketball in 3 weeks, and then middle school volleyball will start in January. Just trying to go through the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association. I don't think there was anything too significant there. There's an athlete registration platform with this new system that they're looking at, which I guess I'm going to hold my breath for just a second. Maybe not. I don't anticipate this going quickly, so we'll see where that goes. Coaching positions, I know we'll have it later on here. Shannon Dickinson did resign as the head coach for the track team, so we'll be posting for that position, and then we'll see where things go with that. And then Mertz rookie Solon Springs Eagles Golf Scramble raised a record $18,600, which is awesome to see that support. Based on a new policy here that the varsity teams, the 8 varsity teams will receive $1,000 of that into their accounts, and then The remaining will be used for large expense items. And I know the one that was voted on was the shooting machine to replace our old one. So, and then the S Club's in the process of writing thank you notes and giving those out to donors. So they were writing those.
Great. All right, congratulations to all the athletes so far this year. Next item on the agenda is the principal's report.
Yeah, so a few updates and recognitions. Earlier this month, we had our Fire Prevention Day. A lot of great feedback, and so just wanted to thank the Solon Springs Fire Department for again hosting our little ones. And then last week, we also completed our safety day drill on October 23rd. That encompassed us going to the reunification site, and part of that is also taking some of the feedback as well and how we can always get better with that item as well. So, so a lot of great work that went into it by our safety team members, and just continue to revamp and revise as needed. Our PBIS team, we established bi-weekly meeting times to review student and district data to identify any trends and patterns. Currently, we're finalizing our tiered fidelity inventory to identify our areas of strength and needs within our tier 1 level of universal expectations for all of our students and staff. And then just in the works of establishing that acknowledgement system for our students and staff, one that's a little bit more consistent across the board as well. And then I just have some upcoming events. This week we have our parent-teacher conferences, Tuesday and Thursday. We hope to get our Hope Survey out for students and staff this week as well. Our Veterans Day program is scheduled for November 11th at 10 a.m. We'll get flyers out, as you may have seen those already posted around the community. And then just currently, again, still working on some of those items, AGR reporting, and we'll see that in our upcoming December agenda and what that is and what our goals are. Our educator effectiveness, our WIMLSS project that we had talked about earlier, and then honing in on our essential standards for math this year, like we did with our English standards last year. Yeah, and then currently we still have one official job posting for our paraprofessional for our 4KK classroom and our Eagles Academy, and then looking for a middle school long-term math substitute for second semester.
Any questions, concerns?
Is that para one the one that there had been some interviews?
Yes. Yep.
Nothing else, we'll move to the next item is the superintendent's report.
All right, let me take a second to get things up and running. Sorry, guys. So I'm gonna be on the screen here, so our fellow will be, so apologize. Marquez Guzman from Baird.
It is pretty shiny.
Thanks. That working? You see us? Yes, but hold on. Let's try that out. No, that's not syncing. All right.
Gotta get the volume up here. I mean, I can barely hear you, so. No. Nothing else. Let me try this. No? Try again. No? Oh,
Can you hear me?
that's better.
Great. All right. Thank you, everybody, for having me be a part of this board meeting. Are you ready for me to start?
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right, so Pete asked me to come tonight to present our Baird budget model and how school districts use it, and how it might benefit your school district. So I have a brief presentation. Kind of, I want to walk through what the budget model is, and then we'll have some time for questions if there are any at the end. So just to get things started, so my name is Marquez Guzman. I'm with Baird, and we have a school finance team that supports school districts throughout the state of Wisconsin. Our school finance team is broken up into two different groups. We have our banking team. Kevin Mullen is the banker that's assigned to Solon Springs. And then we have our school business solutions team, and that's the team that I'm on. So the banking team works primarily on school district debt issuance. So when a school district goes to a capital referendum for a big project, right? The bankers are the ones that are negotiating or helping get that cash for the district to complete that project. And then our school business solutions team is working more on the operational side of the house, primarily on school district budgeting and forecasting. And so, this just kind of gives a brief overview of what our whole team does. As I mentioned, debt management and referendum planning is handled by the bankers. And then we have our budget forecast model, which is our main tool on the school business solutions side. We also have a video library, a school analytics tool that compiles all the statewide data, financial, staffing, academic, and our team also does some training and consulting with districts across the state. Overall, the budget forecast model is our most popular tool. We're up to over 285 school districts that use it. And so now I'd like to kind of show you a sample of what one looks like. So this is a sample model from another school district. And essentially it's a customizable Excel workbook that has over 35 different tabs. And we're not going to go over each one. I'm going to show you the main high-level tabs and how it's used. And then, as I mentioned, we'll have some time for questions at the end. The first thing I want to point out is when we build your school budget model, what we ask for is 5 years of your financial data. This is kind of the base of that budget model. So everything that we're going to look at, you can look at 5 years in the past, but then the benefit of it is that it hopefully provides a forecast of 5 years into the future. So in total, you can look at a longer term view of your school district's finances, up to 10 years with 5 years in the past and 5 years into the future. And when we get your data, one of the first things we do is we analyze it and try to bring to the attention of the school district if there are any issues with your data. So for instance, districts are passing their school budgets right now, right, this week, last week. And so as we get your data, we're looking to see, are there any issues or things that maybe you might have missed? So we do a deep analysis of your data to start, and that's where we make these notes in this spreadsheet here. For instance, if we notice a deficit that a school district has or a potential deficit into the future, we'll make a note of it so that you're aware and you can plan accordingly. But just so you're aware, right, we're looking at each one of these school districts' budget models individually, and that's what our entire team is doing. So to start, right, the model is broken up, as I mentioned, into over 30 different tabs. The main ones are these magenta or pink tabs at the front. These are the what we call the input tabs. These are where districts put their assumptions in, and they're involved in a lot of the key calculations, such as the revenue limit calculation, the state aid calculation. And the area I always like to start with is on and I noticed I'm having an issue here with my mouse not showing. Apologies real quick. Here we go. Is this, the first tab I really want to go over is this FTE projections tab. So for school finance, right, on your revenue limit, even though when school districts think of students, they think about it as a head count, right, or enrollment, the number of kids in your school, the revenue limit calculation for school finance uses an FTE number, right? And the high level calculation of that is your head count minus your open enrollment in plus your open enrollment out. And then you have to do a proration for your 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, right, to get this FTE number, and that's what you see on that revenue limit worksheet, right? And so sometimes there can be a much different number from what you have actually enrolled in your school compared to what your FTE number is, depending on your open enrollment situation. And so the first tab of this model, we have your school district's 5-year history of head count, and then we can calculate what is the average change from grade to grade, identify those historical trends, and then help the district form a 5-year projection of your head count, right? And that's just the base of it. But then you have to go through each section, your open enrollment in, right? And we break it out between regular ed and special ed because there are different funding levels for each one. And then we have to consider your open enrollment out as well. And when you do all that, we have a final FTE calculation that a school district can then use to make some assumptions with what's going to happen on the revenue limit, what's going to happen with their state aid. And obviously, we encourage the districts to use this as a base, but then you can change, right, depending on if you're aware of like a number of students moving out, maybe a smaller 4K class coming in or coming in down the road, to make sure that the projections are accurate and in line with what you're expecting. But it does provide a base for a school district to do those enrollment projections. Additionally, we have staffing projections built on the right here, where you can look at, if you have a specific number of teachers you want or have, right, you can see what are the class sizes by each grade, maybe identify in the future we might need to move from 2 5th grade teachers to 2 4th grade teachers or vice versa. The other way is if you have a class size target, we can tell you how many teachers you need in each one, right? And obviously you can do the math as well, but this one can do it for you and project, hey, in 2028-29, hey, you might need 1 more teacher or 1 less teacher, and that way you can start planning more proactively. If a school district has any debt, we have your debt schedule built into the model. I don't think Solon Springs has any debt, but if you did, it would be built into your model and would flow through into your Fund 38 and Fund 39 budget tabs. Moving on, we have the revenue limit here. So this is the one of the big calculations for a school district. The revenue limit calculates how much school districts can generate in revenue between state aid and property tax. And so we have 5 years of historical revenue limit data, as well as 5 years of projections. And this is the exact same revenue limit calculation that the state uses, DPI. The benefit here is that you can see 10 different years all on one tab versus hopping between 10 different revenue limit worksheets. If you use those FTE if you use the FTE projections tab, your data can flow through right here into the model, showing your updated FTE number. And then you can plug in your assumptions for what is the state increasing the revenue limit by each year. We have the $325 increase that's currently part of state law in there. But you can also, update accordingly. If you were gonna go to a referendum operating, right, either a recurring or non-recurring, you can plug that in and see how does that change our revenue limit in the future. That's really kind of where we'll get to in a second of how school districts utilize the model. But the revenue limit calculation is a key input for schools, and so it's one of our 5 magenta tabs here in our model. Open enrollment can be another significant factor in a school district's budgeting, right? There's the open enrollment in revenue, but then there's also the open enrollment out expense. Based on what I looked at, it seems like you guys have much more open enrollment in than out. So for you guys, right, that'd be more of a revenue generator. But here you can plug in, once again, if you use that FTE projections, your FTE number for open enrollment flows in and will show you how your open enrollment in revenue or open enrollment out expense changes over the future, and then flows automatically into your budget so that you can budget the right amount. And then the last pink tab, or the last key input tab, is the equalization aid tab. So once again, right, there's multiple variables that go into equalization aid, right? It's not only your membership or the number of kids you have, it's how much are you spending, it's what's going on with your property value, right? And so this, you can use that to plug in some assumptions with, hey, well, how much is our property value going up? What's going on with our FTE number? What is our spending looking like? And all that is flowing into this equalization aid tab to show you or give you a more accurate sense of how your aid may fluctuate into the future. So those are the 5 big input tabs that we call it, because they're involved in the key calculations, the revenue limit, equalization aid, open enrollment. But what more people are probably more familiar with is just kind of the individual revenues and expenses within each fund. We have a fund tab for each one of your funds, and all the ones that are formula driven are calculated with a state formula, you know, the revenue limits, the state aid, open enrollment, things like that. Those are flowing through automatically onto these different colored rows. But the majority of these tabs is going to be this cream colored, and when it's cream, we're relying on the school district to put in their own assumptions, right? So student fees might be a bucket of money, or interest earned on your investments, right? We don't know, every district's a little different. You can plug in and update those on the revenue side. But on the expense side, right, we get down to your expenses, and the biggest expense for most districts is salary and benefits, right? So the question is, what are you looking to potentially give for salary increases down the road? Are you making staffing changes, either reductions or additions? Plugging in those assumptions. On the benefit side, health insurance can be a huge cost for a district, right? And then as you move down, we got your services. The biggest one typically is open enrollment, right? But there might be transportation, and then you got your supplies, your capital expenses, and then your transfers, or your transfer to Fund 27, things like that. And at the end of it calculates what is your surplus or deficit by each fund. And then it also shows you what's your fund balance by fund as well. And so, you know, I'm not going to go through each fund, but that's the Fund 10 one, right? That's usually the big focus for most districts, is what's going on with my Fund 10. Fund 27 is another big area. There was a huge increase in state categorical aid for special education this year. So most districts saw a bump up in aid, and you can use that this model to plug that in. Next year, there should be an increase in special education categorical aid as well. You can see in this example here, the school district's state aid for special education is increasing not only in this year, but next year, and then it kind of levels off into the future. And then the big thing for special ed, right, is that the state doesn't reimburse the full amount, right? They're only doing 42% this year, and it's probably gonna be a little bit lower. You get some federal grants, but in reality, the school district's transferring from Fund 10 over to Fund 27 about half of the Fund 27 cost. And so that transfer is being calculated automatically for you based on those assumptions you're putting in. What are you giving for raises for your special ed staff, benefits, any other expenses, and it's automatically calculating that Fund 10 to 27 transfer. And so all the gray tabs work very similar, and most of them, or some of them, have data flowing from those key input tabs, those pink magenta color tabs, into those gray ones for what's known. So for instance, if you had debt, right, your debt schedule is calculating what do you need to levy to make your debt payments, and what do you need to budget on the expense side for those debt expenses. I apologize, my mouse keeps disappearing on me. But when you do all that, right, you plug in all your assumptions, you go through each fund, right, the end result is you want to have some sort of output that you can then share with your school board, with your community. And as we move further across the tabs on the bottom of this workbook, we get to output 1, which is probably the most used tab that school districts use. And this is really showing your district finances at a very high level. What's going on with your FTE? What's going on with your property value growth? What's going on with your revenues and expenses? And is that resulting in a surplus or deficit? How is that impacting your fund balance? What's going on with your tax levy and your mill rate? And then, other key spots, do you have a referendum and when is that coming online and how long does that go out for? And then do you have any debt levies for referendum debt? And so this output tab, can really show at a very high level and up to 5 years out, what's going on with the school district. Things might be good this year, they might have been good last year, but maybe they're moving in the wrong direction or the right direction. And this just helps you better see at a high level what's going on so that you can start to dive in what are things that are within your control that you can change, or how else can you plan so that you're ready and can make sure the district stays in sound financial position. Similarly, the output one is the scenarios tab. And let's see, here we go. So it's the same, pretty much the same output as the output one, but what it allows you to do is paste up to 3 different scenarios so that your school board can compare different variables, right? So all of these calculations at the state level, the revenue limit, equalization aid, and then all of your Fund 10 and 27 expenses, right? There's so many different variables at play, right? There's your enrollment, there's what is the state doing with equalization aid, are they increasing the allocation, what's going on with their property value, what's going on with their spending, right? And those can be a lot of different things to compare at once. But what the scenarios tab allows you to do is you can manipulate a few different variables, you can manipulate one, and you can compare, hey, if we do this, how does that impact us 5 years down the road, right? If we give 5% raises this year or 2%, right? How does that impact our surplus 3 years from now? Probably the biggest reason many districts use it is if they go to operating referendum, they want to make sure, hey, are we asking for enough money, right, to cover those projected deficits into the future, but also are we being responsible to our taxpayers and not asking for too much money, right? And this is the way that you can, run a couple different scenarios, maybe a low referendum amount, kind of maybe that middle of the road referendum amount, and maybe a high level, and say, hey, if we ask for this much, right, this is what's going to happen to our levy, our mill rate into the future, but here's what it looks like from a budgetary standpoint in terms of revenues, expenses, surplus, and deficit. And so this scenarios is a key use by school districts. Moving down the road, we have a few tabs that show just some key talking points that many districts bring up throughout the school year, right? Talking about how is the revenue limit calculated for this particular district, what's the breakdown or composition of your revenue in terms of state aid versus tax levy, how is that levy calculated, how's the mill rate calculated? And the idea is districts need to and should be communicating these things, right? And we know that it takes time to put these visuals together. So these visuals are pre-made for you using your school district's actual data, and you can go back 5 years into the future, or look 5 years or 5 years in the past, or 5 years into the future. Similarly, we have a visuals tab. I apologize again, my mouse is acting up. Right, if you want to look at that revenue limit calculation, how is that calculated? How does what happens with the state aid impact our levy? Then what's going on with the total levy, not only Fund 10, but eventually Fund 39 or Fund 80, right? And then how does that impact us on the mill rate? Once you factor that levy in and what's going on with your property value, how does that mill rate look like? But I'm not going to go through each one of those output tabs, but you kind of get the sense that, we're trying to create tools that are easy for you to grab, copy and paste, to use in presentations and communications with board, with the community, with staff. Just kind of finishing up here, we've got a few output tabs related to referenda. We have, your election dates into the future. So not only what is the election date, but you have to file a resolution 70 days prior to that election date. What's the deadline for getting that resolution filed with your municipal clerks, right? And so you can look at into the future, what are the different options for potential future referendums if need be. You plug in a proposed referendum date, and it gives you a timeline of what you should be doing, up to 170 days before, right, in order to be prepared to make sure you're hitting all your bases in that run up to a potential referendum. Some school districts we have a cash flow tab in here. Apologize, once again, the mouse is acting up. So if you wanna see when are your low points and high points for cash, I think you guys have a pretty healthy fund balance. So cash flow borrowing is probably not on your radar, but should things change on the road, you might need to see, hey, when is our low point for cash? School districts don't get their property tax revenue until January, but obviously school starts in September, so there's a lot of bills that need to be paid between September and January when property taxes roll in. Depending on how much aid you get, right? There's aid, a small portion of aid gets paid in September, a little bit more gets paid in December. So, depending on where you fall into the aid formula, right? Your cash flow needs might be different, but this is a tool to help you see month by month, when are those low points with cash, when are those high points? Maybe can you invest some money at certain times to get more interest revenue? And then just kind of ending up here, we have 2 more tabs. There's a budget adoption tab, right? This is the format that the state recommends school districts approve a budget at, right? And there's also the budget publication format as well. And so we have a tab where you can run a report out of your financial software, paste it in here, and it will complete both of these formats for you. Something that I used to do in my role as a school business official by hand, right? It would take me hours. I'd have to double check every single number. Now it can be done in a matter of seconds. So I went over a lot. I tried to give you a quick overview of the tool and how it's used. Are there any specific questions that I can answer at this time? Or Pete, if I missed anything, please let me know.
Yeah, I don't think you missed anything, because you did, you provided a lot for us, so it's some stuff to consider. I'm not sure.
That was the budget, everything that's included in the budget model. What does the school analytics, if you add that on, what does that
Yes.
give with that?
So, and your question actually just reminded me of one more thing I was gonna mention. So as part of the model, right, we're starting to actually build budget models for the 26-27 school year for school districts right now. So I think we've probably built about 15. We have probably, we're gonna build 15 tomorrow. We're gonna be turning these out for the next, month and a half. We do provide a couple workshops for school districts to attend at different places around the state. We have one in Eau Claire would probably be the closest to you guys, but we really invite the school district superintendent, the business official or business manager, bookkeeper to attend, right? And it's really a 4-hour workshop on how do you use this. Let's get started. Let's plug in your numbers. Let's get going. So we do those in December. And then throughout the spring, we provide additional workshops, virtual webinars. We do shoot updates throughout the year. So not every month, but maybe every other month whenever there's new changes. So for instance, on July 1, the state put out their equalization aid estimate. Our team uses that equalization aid estimate to calculate the different variables you can manipulate in your model. You can then plug in your actual data, which is ultimately what your aid is going to be calculated on in October. And on July 1, you can actually get a very, very close number to what you should be seeing on October 15th when the state certifies the equalization aid. And so those are some of the values, additional things that we provide as part of the model, is that ongoing support, not only those trainings, updates, webinars, and then one-on-one sessions if superintendent and business official, ask. I'm happy to hop on calls, come up there. I'm in Eau Claire quite a bit, and really make sure that you guys are utilizing this correctly and making the most of it. But in addition to the budget model, I mentioned earlier that we do have the school analytics. So the budget forecast model by itself is $4,000. But we do offer a few other tools that if you add them on, you get a discount. So the analytics tool by itself is $3,000, but if you combine it with the budget forecast model, it's $2,000. So the package would be $6,000. And the school analytics, I actually have it up. Because actually, this is how I learned about a school district before a meeting, is we have these different modules here. Like I mentioned, we have all the state financial reports, staffing reports, school level reports, academic. We do a bunch of correlational analysis as well. What factors, if you do this, if you spend more money here, how does that correlate with different academic outcomes? But on the financial side, right, You select your district. Technically, you can select any district if you wanted to see their data because it's all coming from the state source. And this district summary here gives me a high-level overview of what are those key data points or metrics for a school district, right? What's your fund balance looking like? Your economically disadvantaged, what's going on with open enrollment, your school report card, your enrollment FTE, your mill rate levy, things like that. But then you can start to look, hey, what's going on with our revenues and expenses year over year? How are we spending our money compared to other districts, or neighboring districts, or districts that are similarly sized? And I won't dive too much into it, but the staffing can be helpful too if you're making offers to new staff, right? You can see, hey, what's the market rate for a certain position in your district? And so you make sure that you're offering enough to be competitive, but maybe not offering too much where you're overpaying for certain positions. And so the analytics is a tool that I used when I was a school business official as well, just to make more informed decisions. And as I mentioned, it would be, if you bought the forecast model, it would be $2,000, and you can have up to 2 licenses there, or you can add additional licenses for $100. So.
And then how much of a workload does it add to?
Yeah, I guess that's a good question that I don't know if Marquez can necessarily answer that as far as that workload, because I think it all depends on how much we mess with it, you know, and do some projections, right?
Correct. So to get set up, it's simply running a report out of your financial system that just has those 5 years of financial data. So, you know, setting up that report, we provide instructions, or I'm willing to hop on a quick call. That shouldn't take more than a few minutes, 5 minutes to get sent. We build that model, we do that review, we send it back to the school district, and then we invite them to come to that workshop. And those typically run from 10 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. Spend the day in Eau Claire. Usually in that time, we can get you up and running pretty quickly. Typically for new school districts that start using the model, I'll provide maybe another 1 hour virtual meeting. We'll walk through it, make sure that you know how to, manipulate the data or what to input. And so, with that, that workshop time, and then maybe another hour after that, you're in a pretty good position to at least have starting those early budget discussions. And then, it's really, as Pete mentioned, or I think I heard somebody mention, right, it's really up to the district how much time they spend in the model. But from there, it's just tweaking based on those discussions that you're having with your school board, with your community, right, tweaking, changing those variables. So some districts use it, I wouldn't say daily, right, but weekly, monthly. Some use it at certain times of the year, maybe early in January as you're determining those open enrollment seats. Maybe again in spring as you're putting together your preliminary budget. Obviously, if you're looking at a referendum, right, you're probably using it a lot more because you're maybe surveying people or having discussions and then running different scenarios to see how does that impact to start narrowing down those decisions. But it doesn't require too much work on the front end, but you can put in as much time as you want depending on how much you want to use it for your work.
All right, I thank you, Marquez, for hopping on and providing that information here. I know we'll be in touch here soon, so.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and if there's any questions after the fact, feel free to, hand them over to Pete, and you can email them to me. I'm happy to answer any questions, so.
All right. Thanks, Marquez.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. I'll promise to get through the rest of my stuff pretty quickly here. So a couple things that I've got a lot of legal stuff today. So Assembly Bill 196, Senate Bill 170. It's a broad bipartisan support bill. It's been in committee, and what it's regarding is retired annuitants. This legislation provides schools and public employers with a direct and effective tool for filling urgent vacancies. So what it's saying is that people that have retired can continue to draw their annuity, but come back to districts full time if there's a need, and not have to forfeit their annuity. There is still that 75-day break which is currently the case for anyone that returns on a part-time basis. So they've had pretty decent support, but once again, it's been stuck in committee. We're not exactly sure why. Next one, building evaluation. We're going to hear more from Market and Johnson and River Valley architects here in the remainder of our board meeting here. So.
Okay.
Legislative policy priorities, some things that are coming up and it's just putting on our radar. A proposed teacher bill of rights to establish new state standards for student behavior and discipline in local districts. That should be interesting. Act 20 for mathematics, which I'm not hugely a fan of because when they rolled out Act 20 for ELA and reading, it was unfunded and there were a lot of requirements that were added to our plate. Consolidation and shared services, so talking about consolidation of districts and shared services between districts, streamlining dual enrollment and ECCP, or that early college credit program. That might be a benefit to the district. And then restricting drone use on school property. I don't know if we have much of that. Anyway, next one, it's Assembly Bill 2. It's an act to amend statute 119.04, subset 1, to create statute 120.12, subset 29 of the statutes, requires school boards to adopt policies to prohibit the use of wireless communication devices. I think we already have something of that nature, but this would make it official in the state. Right now it's waiting for a governor's signature one way or the other. And then lastly, special education consultation. We're using some of our Fund 27 flow-through funds. That's our special education federal funds for consult to assist us with increasing our capacity and integrating special education services into our Montessori program. And that delivery of special education services is predicated on the traditional classroom model. So fitting it into the Montessori program, it takes a little bit of work, and we've got this person, Nancy Lindeman, who's had lots of experience in special education, as well as Montessori World, that's coming to us to assist us. So that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions, concerns? If not, we'll move on to the next item, which is public comments. I have 2 sheets of folks that want to do public comments. Just a reminder, it's a 3-minute time limit. Address the board only, not any staff. And it's, if you've already done this, great. If you haven't, it's not a question and answer session. It's you making a comment, us listening, and that's pretty much it on a public comment. So I don't know if Tammy or Danny, you want to go first, or arm wrestle over it? And if one of you guys can kind of keep a time.
Oh, I'm gonna be short. So I know I'm in closed session, but I just wanted to come in here and.
No, we're not in closed session.
No, I know, but I'm going.
Oh, okay,
after.
okay.
So, I thought that this was over. I thought I could come in and start the new year on the same page as everybody else, but I got started over with my years of service. You guys are telling me that I have 8 years of service when it comes to my personal days, but then when it comes to my pay, I'm dropped down to this tier thing, which is new this year. If I would have known that that was coming into effect, I would have negotiated that last spring, but no one said anything. And when I went to Leanne to talk to her about that, she told me that it was decided that I wasn't going to be in the right tier that I'm supposed to be. And then when I sent an email, I got different information from both administration and accounting. So I just want answers, and I don't think that it's right that I, for one part, I am arbitrarily knocked down to 3 years, and then the other one I'm up to 8. That's all I got. Thanks. And all of these people here are here because of me.
Danny?
Actually, just wanted to talk about the early college credit program, just to make sure there's no confusion. For early college credit, we looked into it tonight, I just wanna make sure that I speak up more. I feel like I'm talking loud. Early college credit is 9 through 12. 9 through 12th graders can take college courses, starting in the fall now, because hopefully all of our spring enrollments have applied. Star College now through Northwood Tech is just 11th and 12th. So I just wanted to make sure that 9th and 10th graders that have applied do have the same opportunity and, what's the word I'm looking for? It's been a long day. Consideration for those college courses. So I don't know if I need to speak on this officially, but here I am doing my part. That's all. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment?
So, Tammy's saying that you guys want to bring her back in on 3, and she's been here for 8, correct?
I don't know the specifics.
So do we gotta make a notion, or can we make a notion or something to bring her back in on the 8 instead of the 3?
Well, on personnel decisions, those are things that we're gonna have to discuss in closed session. We can't discuss that in a public forum.
Well, I would like to make a notion to bring her back in on the 8th, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, we'll discuss it when we get into closed session. But thanks. Okay. All right, no further public comment. We'll move to the next item on the agenda. Personnel recommendations, I don't see anything.
No hires. Once again, it's just the resignation of Shan Dickinson as track coach.
Okay. Acceptance of donations.
So what we have is Keith Larson donated a large number of student learning supplies, like pencils, notebooks, etc. So.
Motion. Nope. Facility study presentation.
Oh, I think she's not there. Hold on. Outside there.
Is that my way?
Yep.
I mean, a student in the crowd was dressed, so I was pretty impressed.
For the bigger book.
How's it going?
Great.
Excellent.
You guys direct us tonight. Do you want the abbreviated version, or do you want the long, like line by line, painstaking detail, short and sweet?
How
So
much
obviously-
time are you looking for?
Well, you know what,
First
we'll
law?
blast through it quick, and then,
Okay.
I think with the best value coaches, because there's gonna be a lot of stuff there, right? If we went through it all, your head would be spinning, right? So, we'll cover high-level stuff. You guys have the report, you have numbers. This, remember, was kind of first step, right? So next step is we gotta then come back and start looking at spaces and space needs and education adequacies and stuff like that. So there'll be another opportunity certainly to ask more specific questions or dig into it, so to speak, right? Okay. So, I guess maybe before we get going, I'll introduce Aaron. Aaron's with RVA, the architecture firm that we partnered with on the project. So Aaron and the engineering team have done the bulk of the building evaluation from a code, structural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing standpoint.
So I apologize.
Yep.
Our mic is sensitive, but not that sensitive. So
Okay.
what I'm gonna ask is that everyone make sure you speak up and clearly, please.
Okay.
So, just so we
Is
get
it
it all.
better if I face a different?
No,
direction?
no,
All right.
no, you're fine,
All right.
so.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm just Erin, I'm not architect on this project, and, we came up here back in August and walked through the building and evaluated, assessed all parts of it, and we're looking forward to, working with staff and leadership to go through educational, inadequacies or improvements that need to happen around here, and get that going to the next steps.
So last time I was up, I kind of walked you through the structure of the report. So for the most part, it all kind of is the same, except for now there's more detail in there, right? So you go through kind of overall floor plans, you go through roofs and different roof sections and conditions. We go through paving and the condition of the blacktop outside and that type of thing, right? There's a mechanical, electrical, plumbing assessment that's all in there. And then what that does is kind of accumulate into the cost breakdown. And so what we do is kind of put them in that 1 to 3 year, 4 to 6 year, and that's kind of 7+. And so there's no magic bullet to all that, right? So really kind of base it on typical life cycle expectancies. Doesn't mean like a day, you know, whatever, 720 that something's gonna stop working. This is our best guess of what column. So some of it would be just more for big picture planning purposes. So I guess overall, I think our review is the building's in really good shape, you know, for considering the age of it and stuff like that. It's been well maintained. There's no huge glaring, like, oh my gosh moments. We haven't found the skeletons of the closet, so to speak, or anything like that. I know the structural system and the roof was one of the questions, and our structural engineers, as well as the one that looked at it back at the time, kind of both came up with the same conclusion that as is, it's fine. You know, the 100-year storm solution or scenario has probably got some challenges then. So there's a couple different options that we can look at there. We've included a price to add structural support in that 4 to 6 year column. That doesn't mean you have to do it. It's a bigger number. We do think you should have a snow removal plan that in those circumstances, that if we're having a huge snowfall that's out of the ordinary, that we remove that. Or there could be an intermediate solution with putting some snow melt system up there to melt it as it comes so that it's, you know, not accumulating. So got some options we can talk to in those regards. But all in all, you know, it's a relatively good solid building. All the numbers that you see in there, we try to add inflation numbers for the right column, so it's not just like today's dollars. So there's that, there's contingencies in there, there's design fees, all that stuff. So if you're looking at a specific number and be like, whatever it is, that roof can't cost that much, well, there's more than just the cost there, right? There might be ancillary work that goes with it, so it's kind of all in number.
Right. So and that's what you're talking about there is on that cost estimate.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just running out the different scenarios.
Yep.
With 1 to 3, 4 to 6.
Yep.
Okay.
So what what is printed out is just the summary of your pavement, your interior site work, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and then you have a full version. I did not print the individual buildings and the pavement and roofing because it prints really tiny, you can't read it.
Right.
So that might need to be distributed as a PDF to board members to be
Okay.
able to review.
So I know we blasted through that super high level. I don't know if you guys want us to go through any of the specifics or not, or if you wanna digest it and then come back, but really at the end of the day, there isn't a huge amount of big, like I said, big pitfalls or anything like that. There's kind of routine maintenance that's planned over the next couple of years.
Right. I can just ask for it if there's something that sticks out, but I guess it's, you know, if we were to prioritize, you know, the top 3 things that we should be looking at in our facilities right now, what would they be?
Yep.
I would say your big ticket items are your HVAC and electrical, upgrading those.
Okay.
And the HVAC is not you have upgraded your system, but the, currently, the return air, it goes through the plenum in the exit corridor, which is not to code anymore.
Okay.
So that's a big piece that would require ductwork so that it's not open in the plenum of the ceiling.
Okay.
I think another one in the short term, if you were gonna look at, is maybe the grading going out towards the parking or the playground area. That's pretty steep and quirky, if you will, from an ADA standpoint especially. It's probably working fine and having any issues, but if you're gonna build it now, you certainly wouldn't do it that way, right? So
Sure.
that might be one. That's a bigger dollar amount in that 1 to 3 year column that you put in there. Probably the biggest ones, I think.
So the things that aren't to code now, I mean, that doesn't mean we're required to bring it up to code.
No.
When would we be required, if you did certain projects or something, then you, like, once you tap into something, now you have to bring it up to code, or is it?
Yeah.
If we start changing systems or moving walls or have an addition, that's when those items would need to be considered to be replaced and brought up to code.
Okay, but existing HVAC or whatever, that's not up to code, if that was repaired, replaced, you wouldn't have to do a major,
No,
okay.
no.
There's a lot, it gets pretty tricky, there's a lot of different trigger points, when it comes to drawing the fine line of where you have to start and stop when it comes to bringing things up to code related, standards, 'cause it's always changing.
Okay. What electrical issues did you identify that?
Some of it's with the paging system, but other things are with the fire alarm system, like the emergency lighting in the hallways doesn't work
Okay.
currently. That would be something I would update now, like I would address that now.
Okay, but the main system, getting outlet power and lights, that's okay?
That's okay, yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then the roof, I know we've replaced sections of it, where are we at with the roof?
So the roof replacement, and you have EPDM up there, which is a great system and should last between 20 and 30 years. Warranties typically last between 20 and 30 years. And so I get
The biggest one is what section R9 on your roofing plan is probably, it's the biggest need for replacement.
Okay. And then this snow melt system, how effective are those on roofs like we have here?
They're gonna be really effective. I mean, it's gonna melt the snow so that you don't have the point load. Cause the problem that you have up here is on the pitched roof above the old gym, that snow is falling off and hitting the old roof above us, just
Oh, yeah,
back
we
there.
know.
And so if it's melting, you're not having that impact, that additional impact on that structure. It's water, and it'll go down your roof drains or down the scuppers.
Okay, even if there's 2 feet of snow and it's 20 below,
It's the impact that's
Yeah.
adding the added stress on there. It's not that it can't handle that amount of load, it's that extra impact that happens. That's why it's just
would
that
it be
small
placed
section.
just on the pitched part of the roof? The
I
snow
would
melt
put it on the
system?
pitched part of the roof and either side
Okay.
on the flat roof below it, so that snow is
going away faster as well.
Okay. And then if you kept up on it and manually removed it, would have the same effect?
It's just a little bit safer, you don't have to have someone up there in the middle of winter shoveling.
Okay.
And again, it's your big quantities, right? So it's not your normal snowfall that's creating the issue.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the structural. I will say, the two items that you talked about with the fire alarm system, I know that we have a few young students in our district that are hearing impaired, so that lighting is gonna be more of a critical piece here, you know, for them to be alerted. And then also, knowing that some of the speakers in some of our classrooms are not functioning the way they should, and that needs to get addressed as well. So, I mean, that's stuff that we have to think about here as well.
And there is a leak, out at the new gym, there's a crack in that, wall up there, and then there's some things going on with the, through wall flashing around the gym as well there, that I would say is more critical to be looked at and replaced or fixed.
In the shorter term.
Yeah.
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 So as we kind of wrap the study, you know, we'll look at spaces like this next step, right? So obviously we kind of prioritize these in a vacuum.
Yeah, right.
I think the next, you know, the natural progression is as we're looking at those spaces, then we're also talking, you know, does one of these items go further out? Does it want to come up more to the forefront? Do we have kind of a priority one, priority two? I mean, so I think we all collaboratively reprioritize or evaluate all those as well.
And then you have cost estimates on everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So your line items within the chapters, once you
Got
get.
chapter 2 up here if you want to use that.
Can I push through that, or?
Maybe.
There. Maybe just. Oh. I'll just scroll, okay. So your first sheet is, going through exterior and site-related items such as the access to the playground. There's a couple doors that have some cracks over them where the lintel comes in. This is also 11 and 12 are pointing out the 11 is the crack at the new gym. 12 is the through wall flashing that has some problems, which is causing some water in the interior wall. The next sheet is pavement, looking at areas of when to improve the pavement, either replace it or seal coat it. And in this case, the pavement's in pretty good condition. It could probably be resealed and repainted, especially in P3, where kind of your visitor parking and just not having accessible parking signs and an accessible or an ADA parking space in there.
What do you have to do to make it ADA compliant?
You need to have a signage, and then there needs to be a specified place for parking, and then there's normally like an unloading area to get into a wheelchair or to get out with crutches without being hit or having another car right there, so there's a little more space involved. The roof analysis is similar to the pavement in terms of, we're looking at the age of it, how it looks. It all looks really good. Some of the areas that are of concern up here are where the photovoltaic array is. Just because the R6, I believe it is, maybe it was R9. R9's a little older and it has the photovoltaics up there. That's an area to be considered to be replaced, and doing replacements as adhered EPDM rather than a ballasted EPDM lasts longer. And with the PVs, it's gonna make the load on the roof a lot less than it is currently. Because not that the ballast adds a ton of weight on it, but it does add weight distributed over it, so. And there's a couple areas on there that are 2007, so roof 8 over the shop area, roof 9 over the majority of the older building classrooms, and that was it. And then R7 is the area that was of concern that you guys put in adhered EPDM, I assume to lighten the load a little bit and to make it easier to shovel up there. Smart. And then the next sheet's just showing the different areas, the addition, the 92 addition, and then the 1967 original building. And the next one sheet is overall just identifying each room and the function of each room, which we will have to go through to make sure that we have that correct. The next one is the floor plan. So this is all interior items, and most of this is just areas that finishes have seen their life expectancy and need to be replaced. Carpet, cracked flooring, ceiling tiles. There's a couple of classrooms that probably don't have enough casework for storage. Storage seems to be kind of an issue since most of the utility rooms are used as storage in here. And you can't get at some of the HVAC equipment and panels, which is pretty typical. Some of the doors are really worn. And then ADA accessibility, the toilet rooms in the older building, the openings to get in them aren't wide enough, and the clearances to get in there are not wide enough, and then the sinks in there are the foot start, which is not an acceptable ADA accessibility. So, I mean, for the most part, just, it's an older building, but it's still workable and everything. The only other area that's of concern nowadays is the security coming into the building. Having an entrance where students can come in, but then there's another access point off of that you have to go through if you're coming in off hours, parents are coming in, a guest is coming in, they wouldn't be able to just walk straight into the building without having to check in with the office. So having a checkpoint in there is important. And all of these items, they're numbered. They have a correlating line item, either within the 1972 building or the 1992 building. And then pavement and roofing are a separate sheet within the cost estimate. And then it's all summarized, which is the printout that I gave you, the single sheet that gives you the pavement, the roofing, and then the 1967 building, and then the 92 addition on there. Broken down into what we thought were
appropriate years for replacement of whatever the item is, so. And then we just go into the structural narrative and analysis, which we talked about a little bit. And plumbing, for the most part, it's just replacing fixtures. There is a little bit of concern about the storage tanks for the water, being replaced, as those tanks are the original to the building. But not a huge cost item on there.
But no major issues with the actual piping throughout the building?
Nope. The fixtures are just not to 88, that's all. And some of them are just old,
Yeah,
but
but they're
they're still working.
Okay.
Yep, they're still working. Mechanical system, the shop area needing just a better exhaust, for the woodworking, and having the exhaust for the woodworking and the metals combined, to get all of that air out of there. But other than that, other than bringing up the hallway plenum up to code, there isn't a whole lot. You guys have updated that system and the controls for it, so.
Is the exhaust system in the shop now, that's there now, I mean, do you consider that safe, or?
For the metals, yes, but not for the wood. There's two separate systems, and the wood
So
exhaust.
when you say metal, well, I assume.
The welding, sorry.
Okay, so
Yes.
that exhaust system is fine.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
the woodworking portion. The dust collection system is dated, and I'm not sure that it is working.
Okay,
And it's not meant to be an outside, I mean, that's why that little shed roof and walls were built out there. It should be a system that's meant to be exposed to the exterior, which that one is not, so. And then electrical is a little bit more in-depth, with what's improvements and, what could be done, what's there.
oh, if I could back you up just a little bit, the heat, systems that are in the classroom, are those adequate? I mean, I think we talked before about the continually need to adjust them or turn them on or turn them off, or is that functional, or?
It's functional, I mean, they're older. There's more efficient systems, but it's,
I mean, I haven't heard of anybody, wearing a winter jacket all through a classroom. I don't know, I'm not here every day.
and
so-
that would, I mean, we'd find out more about the actual comfort level within spaces once we actually talk to staff and leadership.
Okay.
But, I mean, it's function,
Replacement parts are the concern right now. You can't get parts.
can't
for
get the
them.
parts.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest issues, getting those replacements.
And they could be replaced with a more modern, through-wall heating system, or update and put in ductwork too. And both have a cost.
Yeah,
The replacing in kind is obviously gonna be cheaper.
and they're like water heater type, I mean, what, radiators, or, we don't have forced air, I don't.
No, you do have forced air
In
on
the,
the newer part of the building. Unit ventilators are, I don't actually know if they're water or, I think they are
Not
water.
water.
Yeah,
It's
they're
a
water,
boiler
they're
system.
boiler system.
And it pulls in outside air and moves it over the coils and it shoots the warm air.
Which is why you have the outside, they're on that outside wall.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where we get issue if we have a wind from the south, and it's cold, it'll trip those, and that's where we have to reset. So,
They're pretty standard in
yeah.
this age building.
teaching classroom. Do we have inflation?
Yes.
Yeah, so a lot of it is, you know, would you do it that way today? No. Is
Right.
it broken where you need to do it today? No, so it falls somewhere in between, you're like, you know, if a project were to develop out of this, would we maybe look at funneling some of those bigger ticket items into a potential referendum? It probably is something we'd all wanna talk about, right? But short of that, if it's like, if this is your maintenance plan, you know, moving forward, you know, you got a system that works, it's gonna have some challenges with parts and pieces, and it's gonna, but, you know, for the most part, in the short term, you know, it's check the boxes, working.
Yeah.
All right, next up's then, digest it, you've got the more detailed report you can send them as well. We'll circle back, we're gonna start setting up meetings now with leadership and, administrative teams to go through the space needs and what space they're working, where's, you know, those types of things. That'll be the next kind of report, we come back and report to you guys. But if you guys have any more questions as you get through this, on any of the maintenance tech, things, just come up to Peter or whoever, and, but we'll continue to chip away, and then the next, I think, the plan was November, December, focus on the space needs part of things, and maybe come back in January with kind of a full solution, your full report.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Cool.
Great.
And Peter, just some direction from you as to when you wanna do interview type scenarios. We had the,
Right.
November 20th and 21st, cause those were teacher conference.
Yeah, and the
And,
21st is, it's not all staff on the 21st with our professional development, so.
Okay.
But we'll have, you know, all the teaching, and we'll try to come up with a decent plan.
Okay,
Talk to our leadership team and get this figured out, so.
okay,
But I think that's wise timing, so.
okay, great. And as you go through this, there are also photos that are associated with the plans that are called out, with a different colored bubble as well, so you have a visual of what we're talking about in the, whatever that line item was.
So on this single sheet, so that's like if you hit every item that
You
you've
went through and
identified.
did everything in column one in that 1 to 3 year, yeah, it's 2.5, but there's some big numbers in there that are, you know, the site's, you know, roughly $500,000. Do you really wanna do that, need to do that, that's a conversation.
Yeah.
So there's some big ticket items in there that, we wanna talk through. You know, all the two big ones in there, the site and the roofing, are really the two biggest buckets in that 1 to 3 year column, so.
And, I'm sorry, just and then what is site related? Is that what, I mean, that's.
So
a
site
category.
related is landscaping, access to the playground.
Everything to do with the ground besides,
Exterior of
except
the.
Yeah.
for the blacktop, that's the
Okay.
thing, right?
Yep.
So
Okay.
it's the grade, grading is the biggest thing.
Okay.
By the playground there.
Alright.
Where it kind of knees deep.
Yep.
And then there were some, line items for some of the siding is coming off of one of the outbuildings, and just the fact that there isn't a whole lot of storage for school equipment, school vehicles out there.
Do you guys look for asbestos, or is that kind of something to find when you get in there?
That's another consultant.
Oh.
And we can recognize where it is, but that's something that if we did dig into one of these projects, we'd have a consultant come in and assess where the asbestos is, what needs to be removed and taken care of.
And we have inspections on that, and I think it comes in twice a year.
Yeah, that's a requirement that we have to do, is make sure that we're inspecting everything for asbestos in open areas or exposed areas, so.
Alright. Well, we bless you through that, but if you have questions, like I said, digest it. They'll give you some good reading material the next couple nights for sure. You'll sleep well. But if you have questions or whatever, just call with Peter and we'll be happy. But there'll be another round or two of ability for sure, so.
Okay.
Cool.
Great. All right, thank you guys.
Thanks so much.
All right, next item on the agenda is the 25-26 school budget.
So even though it was adopted during the annual meeting, the board has to officially approve that budget. So,
The budget included in this report is the official one. The one that's in the public meeting is our, what we were looking at before we knew the confirmed numbers for property taxes. And this has the confirmed numbers for property taxes. So basically, we had a balanced budget, other than Fund 80. We had a little bit extra built into there, very little, like 3,000. And then it was showing a deficit because we have two, our library fund and a mental health fund, that we have the dollars that were set aside last year into our fund balance, that the expenses and is put into the budget this year, but there's not a revenue reflected against it because it comes out of the fund balance. Anybody have any questions on it at all?
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the 25-26 consolidated budget.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's like,
Brittany,
I'm now I'm overstepping.
Okay. All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, next item is employee sick bank use.
So once again, it's going off from the proposal for the sick bank. Currently, it's only utilized by individuals that put into it. And based on that request, removing some of those requirements and things that we have listed previously. Staff, we would like to see anyone employed by the district have access to the sick bank, and removing that 3 years before being able to participate or draw from the bank. And then develop a process of that, of asking before June 30th if they'd like to contribute. So, 3 things that they're requesting.
Okay, and I recall, I wasn't here, but from watching the meeting, did you have concerns of whether this could be done, or what the proposal is?
It's more, it makes it more open and definitely more, looking at more, being used more frequently, where it's very rarely used now. So that does just fall into a little bit more of a, can be a financial burden on the district, so just something to think about there. In one hand, it can be better, in one hand, it can be worse, because if you're having an aide contribute their sick days to professional staff, that professional staff is getting a larger dollar amount value than that aide, or vice versa. So there's little bits like that to consider. we kind of discussed at the last meeting too, a little bit, that it's the benefit of having some time in the district also, is that something to look at, is that we're, you know, a consideration to make, that someone coming in brand new isn't able to use it. It's one of those things you build up over time of being at the district. It's a benefit that you know, draw on.
And now it's 3 years before you can use it?
Before they can put in at this time. You know, I would say with that, if we used to do it so they had to, put in the request at the end of the, or beginning of the year. Makes more sense to me at the end of the year. Okay, you've been given 12 days for the end of the, for the whole year. If you have, and maybe what we would need to do is say, if you have 10 days left, you can contribute 1. If you have 1 day left, maybe we want to think of that and say, okay, well, you know, we kind of want to see you building up your days to use for yourself. So I
mean, is there any, I mean, what's the downfall of someone donating their days their first year? That, I guess.
Yeah, there's really nothing. The fact that then if the next year, say they ended up getting sick and they didn't have any, and they went beyond what their new 12 days are, they wouldn't have any build-up. I think that's where they were looking at before, but that's, you know, then it comes down to no pay days. Or this would be looking at, you know, using the bank. But there were also guidelines as to what the bank could be used for.
So currently you can't donate or draw from during your first 3 years?
Correct.
And essentially the proposal is to just say, once you're an employee, you can both donate and draw from. Is that-
And it was that you had to have contributed 5 days, Linda? 5 days to the bank before you could even draw from it.
Okay.
So it wasn't that you could have contributed 1 and start being able to use it right away. And then it's never been for like, if somebody had the flu, it was more like if somebody had cancer and they were out for a while, bigger illnesses, so it might be something that we kind of have to look at the whole package over.
All right, does anybody want to make a motion with the changes that are requested? If not, then it stays the way it is, so.
Can I just say that?
Not necessarily, I would, Robert's rules, making a motion, then getting into debate on where we will put it, so.
Let's make a motion and then discussion.
Yes.
Yeah, so it doesn't mean we approve it.
Yeah, I would
Putting it in the arena.
I would make a motion to discuss it and clear up some of the language as far as
Get a second?
Second?
Okay.
So then with, yeah, so now discussion, you know,
Okay.
what are some of the
So
points?
what are, yeah.
I am more prone to leaving it the 3 years so that it encourages time in the district and building up personal sick leave. The compassionate side also sees that people can have hard times where they had, when the kids presented it last time, like wanting to donate time to people that were ineligible. And I think that could be a reasonable thing, like donating 1 of any 12 days they had built up in their personal source, 1 for, you know.
Is there a limit on how much you can donate? Can you donate all 12?
It's 5.
5 is the
But like
max?
I'm saying, for
5 is
anybody
max.
that's ineligible to draw from the sick bank, like, say, staff X has 24 days in their personal sick bank, that they could donate 2 to anybody that's ineligible. And maybe it can go in front of that same committee to be approved, or if it's just on their heart to do it that way, or
we have to be cautious that way too, as to what the limits would be, what kind of things would it be available for.
That's where I think like if it could still go in front of that same, the committee that has to approve the sick leave for its, you know, elementary, high school board member, administration, or whatever it is.
I think we'll have to have some guidelines set up going into that, and then they have the discussion too, as to whether it's approved or not. So there needs to be some base guidelines ahead of time, and then the group would have discussion as to whether it would be something that would fall in those guidelines or not. Kind of think of it as like a grant, where there's certain items that a grant can be used for, and then.
I'm just leaning up getting rid of it through here and then not building up.
Well, I'm still, I'm unclear what the rationale is to have someone wait 3 years. If you're sick
Yeah, I'm
in
not
year
sure.
2, or you wanna donate in year 2, I'm not
Or
sure
year
what
one, I'm not sure what that was based on either. I mean, that's been in place for a long time. And
Yeah.
I agree, it makes sense that if you have enough days at the end of the year that you can contribute, you know, the
Yeah.
day that.
So I think at this point, I'd recommend we just table this. I don't think we're at a point where we're at we can really make an intelligent decision, and we probably need some more information. So I would say table it until at least the committee of the whole meeting, or perhaps the next board meeting. But I just don't think we're at a point where we're gonna come to any kind of consensus, so. If anybody has any objection to that, if not, we'll just table it and. Okay, so to table it, you got, whoever made the motion, you can rescind your motion. And then we can, unless you wanna try to vote on it now, but I don't think we're there, so.
I think it's reasonable. I'll rescind my motion to discuss and motion to table.
Okay. Then do we need a,
That's a motion.
Second.
Second.
okay. All right, we'll table this to the next meeting. All right, the next item is camp chaperone compensation. There's a letter in there from Shannon Dickinson. I assume everybody's read it. Basically asking for a $300 stipend to the person, which is currently Ms. Reedy, or whoever takes it, the responsibility in the ensuing years. There'd be a stipend of $300, which I think is pretty reasonable given the time and tasks that have to be put into setting that camp up. So if everybody's had a chance to read it, I would entertain a motion to approve the stipend request.
There's more than just that in there though. So it's also saying a stipend of $150 per night for overnight chaperones and $50 for chaperones that stay more than 2 hours. I think we need more discussion on that. Kurt.
How many chaperones do we normally have? Do you know?
It could vary depending on which school staff are participating, because we also draw in parent chaperones as well, and then you have that as well. You know, if you have a staff member that's a parent as well,
Right.
attending. So, and then we also have our high school students that are counselors and help with supervision for overnight as well.
Okay.
And sometimes for things like, when they go down to plays, sometimes they take more chaperones with them down, so that's something else.
But are high school students acting as overnight chaperones?
I don't know what our student
I mean, this
chaperones
is-
count in that, I don't know what that is.
No, so
They would-
my apologies, so we'll just grab that.
So what more information do we need?
Well, I think when you're talking overnight chaperones,
Yeah, it's talking about what are the limitations on this? Is there a approval process? So if there's an overnight, it has to go in front of the board for that approval, but then knowing that stipend goes with it.
Yeah, so right now, they're just doing it on a strictly voluntary basis. And is there
Yes.
still an approval of who can act as a chaperone?
That would be determined on interest right now. I know that the Ernie Swift one has been pretty consistent. The Wolf Ridge is gonna be a little bit different this year because it's moved up to middle school level, but those are gonna be pretty consistent. But, so it's not necessarily approving that person for those, but it's approving what we're providing for those.
Okay, so we need, I mean, can you craft more guidelines or for us to consider?
That, yes, we can.
Okay,
So,
all right, let's do that, and we'll table that as well.
as long as everybody's interested. Is somebody making a motion to look at that? Does everybody want to go ahead with that and consider that? And can you consider the two things separately? Can you consider the stipend for
The
like,
planning.
attending camp? Because that's a school, kind of a school, part of their curriculum mandated. Makes a difference if it's also that way, or if it's something that they are choosing to do as a field trip.
Yeah, I think we can come up with some thoughts here,
Okay.
present those, so.
All right. Yeah, then we'll move on. Dishwasher purchase.
This is more for informational right now, just getting different options. There was some consideration of a single stage, and what we had received are some quotes. They're definitely lower, but the two provided are not heat sanitizing, they're chemical sanitizing. And I'm also looking at getting more information on leases, so just keeping you updated on where we're at, and as I get that information, I'll bring it back, make a determination on where we're gonna go with this.
Okay.
So,
And these costs were just the item, correct, not the not
That's
the
correct.
installation.
that's correct.
All right, the next item on the agenda are the policy updates. There's a number of them. I believe we did a first reading from the committee.
That's correct.
Meeting. Okay, so we are at the point where we can approve these. I'll entertain a motion to approve them, and then we can, I think there's one I want to discuss. Take a motion to approve the policy reviews, or policy updates.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Which is the one I was looking at? The final, the student use or possession of intoxicants. Item F,
Mhm.
what is that? Lookalikes.
Right, so lookalikes, if I have to go into that, I think that was like salts or something else of that nature, so I can get more definition as to what that is for you.
Yeah, I mean, because if it's an illegal substance, that's fine. If it's not an illegal substance, but it maybe just looks, I don't know if they meant it just looks like it is. So I would say, we can table that one, for more information. And does anybody have any issues with any other policy item? If not, I guess, Scott, I would ask you to redo a motion approving all except the very last, student use of or possession of intoxicants, drugs, or paraphernalia.
Okay, I'll rescind my motion and make a new one, passing all but PO 5530, student use or possession of intoxicants, drugs, or paraphernalia, clarification on lookalikes.
Okay. Second? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next item is Start College Now, College First applications. I think there was a number of them on there. I had a question on one of them. For Brody Conan's, where is Mitchell Technical College? Is that local?
It's in South Dakota.
Okay. Does that cause any, I mean, does it have to be a Wisconsin institution to, for the district to pay for those?
We would pay for the Wisconsin Technical College only.
So this one did not qualify?
That's correct.
Okay.
So this is through Northwood Tech, I
Is
believe.
it? Okay, so if it's
Yeah.
through them, then
Yeah.
it's that, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is through Northwood Tech, and he needs that course in order for it to transfer to the college he wants to attend.
Which is Mitchell,
Okay,
which
Yeah.
is the one he's applying to after.
Yes.
okay. It just doesn't identify that Northwood Tech is the actual credit that he's applying for.
Was that the form
That's the
he filled out?
application form?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is for Northwood Tech.
There are letterheads on the top, right?
Mhm.
Oh, is it? Well, that's helpful.
I mean,
Okay.
I can ask quick too.
Yeah, it does have a Northwood Tech. Their applications.
It's through Northwood Tech.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions or concerns on those? Not, take a motion to approve the applications.
All motion. Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Okay,
Any opposed? Okay, all the applications for Start College Now and College First are approved. Next item is football athlete transportation.
Right, just formalizing pay with that. And what it would be following would be, I mean, it's the extracurricular. Okay.
Right, but if they are one of our district drivers, then it would be based on what level they're normally at. If they are not one of our regular district drivers, it goes to this sub-rate of pay. So if a teacher were to do it, they get the sub-rate.
Okay, and if it was a parent who's not an employee, what were we doing with
Then it would be
those?
the sub-rate too.
Okay.
If they were authorized to
All right,
drive.
okay.
But it's going to our
But-
drivers first, right?
It goes to the, yeah,
Right.
goes to the opportunity drivers first.
If it's a parent that's providing it, we would still have to go through the process of approving them for transportation.
Okay,
can a parent decline and just drive the kids if they
Yep.
want?
Mhm.
Alright.
That's all I can think of.
can I get a motion to
I hope
approve
not.
the salary schedule?
All motion.
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Baird School Business Service.
So we had a presentation on that. I don't know if you need more time to consider that option. But that's truly it is. If we want to take a look at that and use that model to help us project into the future what our expenses could be, can be.
Okay, and the prices he was quoting, I assume those are annual costs?
That's correct.
Not a one-time?
It's an annual.
Okay. Yeah, I think we've got a lot to think about there. I mean, that was a lot of information to take in, so. I think we can table that for a committee meeting.
I'll motion to table. Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion to table it is carried. Okay, last item for open session is display of political and religious items in the classroom or in the district.
All right, so in the public content, there was a concern that was brought up about political items or items that are viewed as political items in classrooms. And talking to legal counsel, this was the information that was provided. It's just the fact that teachers hire out their own speech and must provide the service for their employers, are willing to pay, is the fact that the pupils are a captive audience, and that's the key piece, the captive audience. So with that First Amendment is displaying political items in your classroom that's not part of your curriculum. Should not be displayed, but that is also incumbent upon the board to reaffirm that piece, that nothing political is propped in the classroom. And that also translates into the religious side as well. So apolitical, irreligious.
Okay, so, did that occur, and how did,
That's
how was it
that's it.
addressed?
That's why I wanted to bring it before the board first, before a message goes out to staff. But I just wanted to make sure that there was no misgivings or apprehension from the board before I do that, so.
Okay. All right. We don't need action on that.
No.
Okay. All right, if there's nothing further, we'll convene in a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85 1C to consider the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the government body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility.
I'll make a motion.
Motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? At 8:07-ish. Yeah. pass. Anybody need a quick break, or do you want to just roll right in? Okay.